Hiya, Paul. Welcome back. We have got to the end of our first week. We're on lesson 5 today of our maths, and we are going to be having a look today at some more ordering to start off with in our game, and then we're going to be learning how to round to the nearest 10 and possibly the nearest 100 if we have time when we get to the end of the lesson. So we're going to be rounding today, but first of all, we're going to start with our game. All the usual things you need today. Okay, so if you haven't got any of those things, go and get them now and press pause. Otherwise, let's get on with our game. So it's a ladder game today, and it's an ordering game. So you need to draw a ladder. So either draw a ladder on a piece of paper, spare piece of paper, or in your maths book, it's up to you. And you've got to make sure that ladder's got 6 gaps on it. Okay, so if you draw 5 lines going across, you do 2 nice long lines for the sides of the ladder, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, and that means you'll end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gaps. Can you press pause and do that for me now? So you've got a ladder that looks exactly like mine. Okay, so with this ladder, now you've got your ladder, what are we going to do with it? We are going to put 4-digit numbers into this ladder. So I have got a set of playing cards here. I'll put my board down and I'll show you my playing cards so you can see. Set of playing cards, they're all modded up. Just got the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so each time I'm going to take 4 cards randomly and it's going to create a 4-digit number. So the smallest number I can make with my cards is 1111, which is 1111. The biggest possible number I could make with my cards is 9999. So then we have to start putting the numbers into the ladder. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example to start off with. We'll do one together and then we'll play against each other, so I won't show you mine. Here we go. So the first number I've got is 6,543. Didn't shuffle those very well. Look, I've got all the same clubs there, haven't I? I'm spades there, haven't I? 6,543. So I'm going to have a look, 6,543, and I've got to decide where it's going to go on my ladder. The highest number has to go at the top, and the smallest, lowest value number has to go at the bottom. So we're going from here in ascending order to the top of the ladder. Once I put a number in a space, I can't move it. Okay, so if I then haven't got the right gap for that number, I have to put it over here. And at the end of the game, we're going to work out our points depending on how many numbers we've got in our ladder and how many are out here. So I've got the first number is 6,543. So that's not going to go at the very top. I think I might put my, what's going to go somewhere here? I'm going to go here, I think. 6,543. Okay, so I want you to put the number 6,543 into your ladder. You don't have to put it at the same place as me. Okay, but you do need to think about what other numbers might come up, because once we put it in there, they're going to have to be in the right order going up the ladder. Okay, so pop 6,543 into your ladder. Right, once you've done that, we're going to play the game. So I'm going to keep showing you a 4-digit number and you're going to add it into your ladder. And once we've got 6 4-digit numbers, we'll work out the points and see if you won or if I won. So here comes the next one. Here it is. 4,300 and aces of 1. So we've got 4,314. Pop that into your ladder. 4,314. I'm going to put it in my ladder, but I'm not going to show you my ladder this time. So where have you put it? Is it in there? Okay, remember you can't move the number once it's there. Okay, here we go. Here's the next one. 5,229. Where is that going on your ladder? Oh dear, I'm in trouble. Remember, if it won't go in your ladder, it's got to go down the side of your ladder. I'm just going to give you a sneaky peek of mine now. Look what I did. I put 4,000 underneath the 6,000, so I've got no gap for any 5,000. So I had to put my 5,000 out here, which is not good for the point score at the end. So hopefully you've done better than me so far. Right, here's the next one. Here we go. Here it is. Here's our next 4 numbers. 7,389. 7,389. Right. Have you got 7,389 in your ladder? I hope so. What's the next going to be? Let me see. Here we go. Let's spawn our cards. I promise you, I'm just picking them up randomly. Here we go. Got no idea what they are. 1,198. 1,198. 1198. Have you got that one in? Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got 5 numbers. This is our last number. Here we go. 7,687. Where is that going? Can it fit in your ladder? 7,687. Pop it in your ladder and let's see what we've got. So here we go. Here's what mine looks like. I've got one over here, which is not good because I needed to put that in, but I'd already put these two next to each other. So I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points for getting 5 in my ladder, but I get -1 for one over here. So I end up with 4 points. Okay, so my score was 4. I wonder what your score was. Did you manage to beat me? You can keep playing this game, again, if you want to, with a friend or somebody in your family. But we're going to move on now. But we will come back and revisit this game again a bit later in the unit so we can have another go and you can see if you can beat me again. I'm sure some of you managed to beat me. Right, shall we see what else we're doing today? Well done. You've managed to put those numbers in the right order. You've realised where you have no space. Let's have a look at today's task, main task today, which is all to do with rounding. So here we go. So rounding, when we use rounding, one of the symbols that's really useful to use is a symbol called approximately equal to. And you can see there, it looks a bit like an equal sign, except the lines are wavy. Okay, so rather than it being exactly equal to, that means it's approximately equal to. And that's a useful sign for when we're rounding, because we're going to be looking at what numbers are approximately equal to, so what they're closest to. So when we're doing rounding, this is going to sound a little bit complicated, but we'll move, as we go along, I'll show you that it's actually quite simple. So first of all, we have to identify which place we are rounding to. So at the moment, we're rounding to the nearest 10. So we're rounding to 10. So I'm going to pop a number up here. Let's have 42. Here we go. Okay. So number 2 says, look at the digit to the right of this. So this is the number we're rounding to, and we have to look at this digit here. Okay, I'm hoping some of you might have done this in school already. And then it says number 3, if the digit is 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, it's a 2. It says you leave the digit as it is, so you've got to leave this digit as it is. So I'm going to keep this as a 4 and put 0 in the lower column. So 42 rounds to 40. It's closest to 40. It's not closest to 50, it's closest to 40. However, if I have the number 48, I'm rounding to 10, here's the number I'm looking at. If it is a 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, I've got to increase the value of this digit. So I've got to say that that is 50. And I put a 0 in the unit column. So 48 is closest to 50. The 10 that it is closest to is 50. And when we look at those numbers on a number line, you'll see that actually it's really good to see it there because you can see really obviously. So if I put 50 at the ends of my number line and 40 here, if I had 42, it would be about here, wouldn't it? And if I had 48, it would be about here. And you can see that 42 is closest to 40 and 48 is closer to 50. The one that's a bit harder to remember is the one that's right in the middle. What's right in the middle between 40 and 50? 45, isn't it? But the rule is if it's 40, so if it's a 5 or bigger, it goes up. So everything from here, this way, goes up to 50. Everything this side stays at 40. Okay? So if it's a 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, it stays the same. If it's a 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, the tens digit increases by 1. And we'll look at another example now to show you this. So Splash is saying, think about a number line with 50 at one end and 60 at the other end. Where does that number 56 sit on that number line? So if we think about it, it sits, that number 6 is there. So that means it's going to sit closer to 60. So we're making it go up because it's closer to 60. So if the unit digit is a 6, we're moving it up to 60 rather than keeping it at 50. Okay, we never take the tens digit down when we're rounding to 10. We either keep it the same or we take it up 1. Okay, so we're going to have a look at some examples now with a number line so it becomes much clearer. So if you're still not quite sure, this will make it much clearer to you, I'm sure. Let's have a look. Picture's always a good thing to help us, isn't it? So we're going to use a number line. We're going to round numbers from 99 to 10 to start off with. So the number we need to round to the nearest 10 is 76. And you can see here, we've got to work out whether it's closest to 70 or closest to 80. And with the number line, we can see quite obviously that it's a little bit to the one side, to the 80 side, isn't it? So it's going to be 80. And it's because that number 6, remember if we had 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9, it was rounding up. So the rocket that we need to launch. Okay, let's have a look at another one. So this time we've got 48. And again, that's much closer to 50, isn't it, than it is to 40. And it's because we've got that number 8. So anything above 5, remember, rounds up. So the 10s digit goes up by 1. And we've got 50. Notice there's always a 0 in the units column because we want no units. We just want to round to the nearest 50. Right, let's see if you can do one now. 54. What's that going to round to? Is it going to round to 50, 51 or 60? Which one do you think? Hopefully. Here we go, one more. 97. Now this is an interesting one because sometimes people get really muddled when we get into the 90s because 100 is actually, when we're counting in tens, comes up, doesn't it? So people think, oh, once we get to 90, well, it must stay at 90, but actually it needs to go to 100. So the tens unit and the 100 unit have to change this time. So 97 is closest to 100. It's not closer to 90. So we've got, so you can see 90, 100. There's 10 apart, and the 97 is closest to this 10, the 100. So it's going to. If you had a number like 3 or 4, and it would be between 0 and 10, you would round it to 0. Okay, so that's another one that often catches people out. Right, I'm going to make it a little bit trickier. I'm going to take the number line away now so that you are able to have to use the rule rather than look at the picture. But you can imagine that picture of a number line in your head to help you. So 42 rounded to the nearest 10. What is 42 rounded to the nearest 10? Is it 50? Is it 40? Or is it 52? You decide now. Point to the right one. Hopefully. 2 and 2 rounds stays the same. So 23, are we rounding up, or is that 10 digit going to stay the same? Is it going to be 20, 30 or 22? Don't think it's going to be 22, is it? Because we need a 0 in the units column. So which one of these two are you going to choose? Hopefully you've chosen 20 because it's a 3, which is less than that 10 number. Okay, one more. What is 19 rounded to the nearest 10? So it's 19. Imagine that on that number line. You've got 10 at one end of the number line, 20 at the other. Where is 19 closest to? Good. Okay. So that's exactly what you're going to do in your book now. If you found that number line really helpful, you could draw yourself a number line for each question if you want to. So I want you to pop the title in your book, Rounding to 10. Okay. And let me show you what we're going to be doing. Here we go. So you've got rounding to 10 as your title. Okay. And for each number, you're going to copy the number. Then you're going to draw our approximately equals to sign. And then you're going to write the number that that rounds to if we're rounding to the nearest 10. Okay, so rounding to 10 is your title. Write down each number and the approximately equal sign and work out what it rounds to. And when you've done it, come back and you can have a little check of your answers and see if you're right. Okay, hopefully you've done those first 8. Let's have a look at them. So 32, we've got a 2 there, so that's less than 5, so it's staying on 30. It's not going up to 40. Then we've got 69. 9 is higher than 5, so it's going to 70. 47 is another one that's going to go up to 50 because 7 is closest to 50 than it is to 40. 17 rounds up to 20. 78 rounds up to 80. 95 rounds up to 100. I'm hoping because we did that example that you managed that one. 52 rounds to 50 and 3 rounds to 0 because it's closer to 0 than it is to 10. Hopefully you managed all of those. Well done. So we're going to carry on rounding to the nearest 10 now, but we're going to look at some slightly different examples. So at the moment, we were rounding tens and units to the nearest 10. Now we're going to make it a little bit trickier. So we're going to start looking at hundreds, tens and units numbers now, and we're going to try rounding those to the nearest 10. So we'll go back to using our number line for a minute to give us a helping hand. So you can see here, we've got two numbers that are 10 apart. So we've got 570 and 580. And here's the number we need to round, 574. So we're leaving the hundreds digit as it is. It's the tens digit that we want to decide what we're doing with. Is it going to stay the same or is it going to go up? And then we look at the units digit to make that decision. So 574, it's a 4 in that units number. So that means we're staying at 70. So we're rounding to 5. So we look at the next one, 453. Okay, again, you can see with the help of the number line, it's closest to 450. The hundred's not going to change. We're looking at our tens and units to decide what to do. The units tells us it's a 3, so the 5 is going to stay and it becomes 4. 671, again, you can see really obviously it's closest to 600. So 1 in that units column. And then we've got one here that rounds up. So we've got 458. Okay, and you can see it's not closest to 450 this time, it's closer to 460. So we're going to click. Right, let's make it a little bit trickier again. Let's rely on our rules this time rather than our number line. What is 185 rounded to the nearest 10? So we're leaving the hundreds as it is for now. We are looking at the tens number and we're deciding, is that tens number staying the same or is it going up? And the way we make that decision is by looking at the units number. So when we're rounding by 10, it's always the units number we have to look at. And it's always this tens number we have to make a decision about what we're doing with. So is it going to be 180 or is it going to be 190? Well, we know the rule is if it's a 5, it rounds up. So the answer. What is 409 rounded to the nearest 10? So here we've got another example where we've got 400 at one end, 410 at the other end. Which one is it closest to? Well, we know higher than 5 rounds up. So it's going to be 115 rounded to the nearest 10. Where's that going to go? Is it going to be 120, 110 or 100? Hopefully you've worked out it's 120. It's not 100 because that would be rounding to the nearest 100. We want to round to the nearest 10, so we still want to keep our tens in there. We just either need to keep it the same or take it up. So we're taking it up. So that is rounding to 10.
Try again.
Hundreds, tens and units. Now we're going to take one step more. I think you can manage it because it's the same rule that applies. So this time we're going to go back to our 4-digit numbers that we've been working on all units. And we're going to, again, just be looking at rounding to 10. So we don't have to do anything with our thousands at the moment. We don't have to do anything with our hundreds. We need to worry about our tens and units to start off with. So our 10 is a 30 and our unit is a 7. So 7 means we have to go up. So we're not going to leave it on 30. We're going to take it to 3,940. So we've got the same thousands, the same tens number, but we're deciding what to do with our tens and units. So with 3,000. Okay, same again, 6,943. So we've got 43 there. Is the 40 going to stay as 40 or is it going to go up to 50? Well, if we look at it, here's 40 here, here's 50 here, we can see it's closer to 40. And we know that if the number of the units is less than 5, it's going to stay the same. So we need to find the number 6,900. Okay, I'm going to whiz back now and I'm going to take that number line away. Let's just do 2 without the number line. And then you're going to have a go by yourselves. So 880. So, oh no, we don't want to go back to those numbers. We want our thousands. Let's make it a bit more challenging. Here we go. 4,469 rounded to the nearest 10. So we're looking at our tens and units. Is the tens number staying at 60 or is it going to go to 70? So we check our units number. Our units number is a 9, which means we have to round up. So we're going to have 4,070. Okay, last one. You have a think about this one. 4,434. Look at those tens and units. What are we doing with them? Is the 30 staying or is it going to 40? So thousands have got to stay the same. Hundreds in this instance are staying the same. They don't always, but they are in this instance. 4,400. Is it going to be 30 or is it going to be 40? The 4 tells us it's going to be a 30. 30. Okay, right. Time for you to do some by yourself, I think. I know you can do this. We've just got to focus on those tens and units numbers and making sure. So same again, okay? This time you're still rounding to the nearest 10, so you don't need to write a new title, but just put a B at the top so we know we're going on to section B, which is a slightly bigger number. So you can just put, you've already got your rounding to 10 title right at the top, and if you just put a B here, then we can start doing number 1. And number 1 is 130. You're going to do your approximately equals again, and you're rounding each number to the nearest 10. So to start off with, the first 4 are hundreds, tens and units rounded to the nearest 10, and then the second 4 are thousands, hundreds of tens and units to the nearest 10. Off you go and come back when you need the answers to check your work. Okay, here's the answers. Let's have a look. So 113, the 3 told us it was staying the same, that tens digit, and was going to be 110. Another 3 here told us to keep that 8 in position, so we had 680. The next one had a 7 in the units column, so it told us to keep it to take it up to 830. 497. This is an example where I said sometimes that 100 number does change. So this time it was going to be between 490 and 500, and we had to make it 500. So sometimes that 100 digit does change. So I did say that often that it doesn't, but sometimes it does. 2,831, the 1 tells us to stay at 30, so we got 2,830. 6,564, the 4 tells us to leave it the same, so it's staying at 60 on the end. 6,069, the 9 tells us we need to go up, so we're going up to 70, 6,070, and 3,415, 3,420, because that, if it's a 5, we always take it up to the next 10, so that's 3,420. Well done. I think we've probably covered enough for one day. We'll stick to just our rounding by 10 today. Tomorrow we'll have another revisit of that rounding by 10, and then we'll move on to rounding to the nearest 100. If you want to have a practice, again, that rockets activity is on Top Mark. So if you type in, let me go and show you the exact title for it. You can have a play with that if you want to. Here it is. Let me just share this with you and I can show you how to get there. So you can see it's Top Marks and Rocket Rounding. If you just put Top Marks, Rocket Rounding into Google, you'll find that, and then you can have a go and you can decide whether you want the number line there or not, and you can move it around and have an extra practice. Just stick to rounding to 10 overnight so that you've got really, really good at that. I want to be super fluent at that so that tomorrow we can have a quick revisit of rounding to 10 and then we can start rounding to 100. Hope you've had a good lesson. Hope things have gone well for you. Don't give up if you've had difficulty. Just go back and revisit. You can always watch the video again if you found it tricky, and second time round I'm sure you'll do much better. So give that a go if you found it hard. Well done for today, and I will see you for lesson 6. Farewell.